When was the last time that India was talked about by the President of the United States almost on a daily basis? India had conducted an unimaginable operation where it had practically decimated Pakistan. Striking 11 air bases in Pakistan is no small feat. The supremacy of the BrahMos, the supremacy of the S-400 systems, all that. But above all, the integration of the three services that stunned the world. And of course, the United States took note. Operation Trishul is going on. Our neighbor, Pakistan, is, I don't want to use the word S dot 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 in their pants. Literally. Hello, Namaskar. Welcome to my pod, the CAA Show. CAA, as all of you know, is Conversations and Analysis. My name is Juggi Bhasin. To become a subscriber, all you have to do is to press that red button on your screen, and subscription is, of course, completely free. Would also really appreciate it if you could like this video and share this video with your friends. All right. The President of the United States has again talked about India and his statement that India was going to have a nuclear war with Pakistan, but the Prime Minister of Pakistan stood up. And if he, that is, if the President didn't get involved, then millions of people would have been dead. That's the new statement. I think it is on a 60 minutes program that the President of the US has spoken on this particular issue. Now, of course, there's going to be a tizzy in not only in India, but in many parts of the world, in Pakistan also. There's going to be a lot of analysis about it. Is the statement correct? Is the statement not correct? Is it partly correct? What exactly is the president talking about? And my short point, which I'm making in this podcast, is this. How does it matter whether the statement is correct or not, whether the statement can be verified or not, or whether, the president, maybe there is some kind of an obsession with talking about India? It doesn't matter, because when was the last time that India was talked about by the president of the United States almost on a daily basis? I can't in my life recall ever such an occurrence where India is constantly being talked about, India is constantly being discussed, the capabilities of India, especially the military capabilities of India. So in a certain sense, think about it, it is actually very complementary to India that we are being talked about. We are this constant factor on the world stage, and no less than the president of the US is constantly talking about us and referring to us. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at this entire thing is there something which has happened, which has triggered off this particular reaction? And I'm arguing in this podcast that yes, that something is a combination of two factors. It's not the fact that we are now a $4 trillion economy, or that we are certainly one of the fastest growing economy in the world. We are a power to contend with. That, of course, is a very, very big factor, but that's not the real big factor why we are constantly being talked about, especially by the President of the United States. I'm arguing it's the demonstration of our capabilities, number one, in Operation Sindoor, and right now, the demonstration of our capabilities in Operation Trishul, the tri-services exercise, which is going on currently at the moment. It's a combination of these two operations, it's a combination of these two endeavors that suddenly India is being taken very, very seriously by everybody in the world, but especially by the United States. That is the real reason. And he would say, what exactly is in these two endeavors, in these two operations, that it has made everybody sit up? And I will explain that. And that explanation is this. For a long time, everybody had the impression that India was a country which, yeah, it used to get a lot of military hardware from first the Soviet Union and then Russia, and that it was a nuclear power, it had a capable army, it was a developing country, all that. But still, nobody ever took India that seriously in terms of that it would have the capacity or the outreach or even the intent to go after the people or the entities or even the countries that trouble it, which is, as I'm referring to, Pakistan, especially. To some extent, China, but certainly Pakistan. But all that has changed after Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor was, despite some of the biased Western media narratives and maybe a little bit of skepticism in some Western capital, but by and large, the entire world acknowledged that India had conducted an unimaginable operation where it had practically decimated Pakistan. Striking 11 air bases in Pakistan is no small feat. And the supremacy of the BrahMos missiles, the supremacy of the S-400 systems, all that. But above all, the integration of the three services, especially the Air Force and the Army in Operation Sindoor, that stunned the world. And of course, the United States took note. And why would the US need to be very, very and track this entire thing very, very minutely and carefully was because the United States has huge interests, strategic interest in Pakistan, especially. That Pakistan, all said and done, because of the Central Asian factor, because of the Iran factor, because of the Afghanistan factor, because even of the Russian factor, because of a lot of other things, Pakistan still kind of really, really matters to the US. And therefore, the US watched with a lot of concern what was going on in this part of the world. But that was not the only thing. Now, Operation Trishul is going on. And Trishul, actually, if you ask me, is 10 steps ahead also of Operation Sindoor. Without waging war on Pakistan, what Operation Trishul so far has shown. Um, there are some facts which I want to tell you, then I will explain to you the significance of what is happening in Trishul and how it is impacting reassessment by major powers in the world. It is, first of all, it is primarily, to a large extent, it is also a nighttime capabilities of our country, which are on demonstration in Sindoor. But it is a massive, massive exercise in terms of both scope, geographical extent of the operation of the exercise, and also in terms of the deployment. 40,000 troops being deployed. The INS Vikrant being deployed, the Navy being deployed, the BrahMos, the SU M30 Mk1 fighter jets being deployed, special forces being deployed, aerial untested aerial system drones, the likes of which have never been used before, interdiction capabilities in terms of cyber warfare, in terms of aerial combat, in terms of a lot of systems which have never been tried before. All of them are being tested, and all of them are being, this awesome firepower is being coordinated. The three services, nothing is out of place. They're working in sync. They're working, the theater commands of these three services are totally in sync, and the world is watching where this massive exercise is going on. And I don't want to use a colloquial expression, but our neighbor, Pakistan, is I don't want to use the word S dot 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 in their pants, literally, because they know one mistake from their side, and India is just needs a fait accompli, it just needs an excuse to launch Operation Sindoor 2.0 on Pakistan. Now, this capability of India, this newfound capability of India, but above all, this new intent of India is being watched very closely by the US, and the US is not keeping track of three important things of the features of the new exercise of Operation Trishul. Number one is the absolutely amazing interoperability of the three services, which is like there for everyone to see. Number two is the use of this overwhelming force from land, sea, and air. And the third important thing is the speed, the accuracy, and the lethality of a response. Now, that is being watched, that is being tracked by everybody right now in Operation Trishul. Pakistan is, of course, almost like a cornered rat. It is watching. It is nothing much it can do. It is making some periodic noises. Or we have our own NOTAM, and we have some of the NOTAM is, cutting into the NOTAM of India, and we will defend this thing. These are absolutely useless, pathetic noises. The fact is, Pakistan is completely cornered like a rat right now. And of course, the United States is watching all this. And as I explained earlier, the US has a strategic interest in Pakistan, and it would be really worried. And therefore, if there needs an explanation. As I said, if these kind of statements are made by the President of the United States, by the presidency in the US, we should actually take it as a compliment that this is our time now. We are now being talked about in the world, and we are not being talked about in notorious terms like North Korea is talked about, or Iran is talked about, or some other actors in the world are talked about, but we're being talked about as in terms of a fearsome military power, which has awesome power. That's the reference to India, and therefore, as I said, take it as a compliment. But also the fact of the matter is, as I said, the strategic angle for the US is very, very important. Now, one caveat out here we need to understand is that we have this slightly, I would say, ambiguous defense relationship with the United States, which actually surfaces during times like this. We just signed a 10-year defense pact with the United States. And therefore, on the face of it, yeah, it's great going with the US and India. Uh, and we also have an ongoing defense relationship with Russia, as you know. But there is a fundamental difference between our dealings, the defense dealings with Russia and our defense dealings with the US. We purchase a lot of offensive defense platforms from Russia. We purchase primarily, I would say, defensive platforms from the US, like the heavy lift airplanes and choppers. But yes, there are some offensive platforms also, like the Apache, and there are negotiations going on for other, for jet engines, etc., and all that. But the fundamental difference is that with Russia, let me give you an example, and that will make it even more clear. It's like dealing with, let's say, somebody who is hungry, and somebody who is hungry, and that person, is his primary need of that person is to satisfy their hunger. And it doesn't matter to that person, you could be from any place, you could be any religion, you could be any whatever, it doesn't make a difference. And then there is somebody you are dealing with who is well fed, who actually is very discriminatory. The point which I'm making by giving you this example is then when you're dealing with America, America is America after all. It is the most advanced country in the world. It has everything. Of course, it has its internal issues and all that. That's fine. But with America, they do want to sell defense platforms to you. But why do people say that these defense platforms come with a cost? Because America wants it that particular way. That is, it has strategic implications for the US. It wants the defense platforms to become an extension of its foreign policy. And therefore, America, my own feeling is, would be very happy if maybe if we have used these defense platforms, let's say in a conflict, maybe with China, but they certainly wouldn't like us to use these against Pakistan because they have, as I said, strategic interests in Pakistan. Now, if you contrast it with Russia, for Russia, it's purely economic. See, Russia is under pressure, whether we like it or not, especially after the Ukraine war. And therefore, they need monies. They need the sale of their defense platforms. And that's why I gave the example of somebody who's hungry and somebody who's extremely well fed. So Russia, it's primarily economic. Yeah, sales, great, wonderful. We have this relationship with India. So the difference between Russia and the US is this. And therefore, we are, of course, aligned with the US. We have a lot of interest with the US, economic, technological, services, IT, technology, all that, even defense. But the difference here is that Pakistan does also matter to the US. Russia doesn't care, obviously. Why would it care about Pakistan? So from that point of view, also, you have to understand that a lot of these statements which are being made by the presidency in the US out there, I, for one, take this, a lot of people don't take this seriously. I, of course, have always credited the US president, the current US president, as very, very serious person, despite all the outward bluster and the bluff and everything and all that. But he's a thinker. He knows exactly what he is doing. And of course, he wants to protect the relationship with Pakistan, but he also understands that the relationship with India is extremely important. So it is his way of balancing this entire thing. So we need to understand what is really going on out there. Therefore, these statements will keep coming out, and especially now that you have pulled off Operation Trishul, which has reinforced to the world that now India militarily cannot be taken lightly at all. It is an awesome power. Its coordination, its inter-service, I keep tripping on this word, operability is next to superb. All that. So we have to understand and take these pronouncements of the US president in a stride. Let's not get too worried about it. Let's not completely go on analyzing till the cows come home that what exactly did he mean? Was he being truthful? Is he needling India? That's not the issue. There are, as I said, strategic implications for the United States out there. Fine, they can have it. Of course, they can have it. They have a relationship with Pakistan. We need to accept that. But we need to be confident about our own self. We are on a good wicket. We have proven to the world our intent. And of course, I would say that the nuclear talk, in summation, I would say the nuclear talk is just that, it is nuclear talk. When India, just to give one more explanation of what the US president really meant, was that India was going to have a nuclear war with Pakistan. I think it refers to that famous line which the Prime Minister spoke in Parliament, where he said, when he spoke in Hindi, I think he was saying that जब उन्होंने हमने डिसाइड करा था कि उनका गोली का जवाब हम गोले से देंगे. Now the Gola could mean a BrahMos missile, it could mean awesome firepower, not necessarily a nuclear missile or a nuclear attack. Uh, it could be a literal interpretation, which is being interpreted by the American sides. Maybe that is also a possibility. Maybe what was said to the vice president, to JD Vance, uh, probably was interpreted as maybe a nuclear thing. Maybe it is, as there is this famous line called lost in translation. Maybe it was all lost in translation. Maybe. But I personally think nothing was lost in translation. I think the US completely understand what India was about to do, or India was rather doing. The fact of the matter really is that Pakistan was down on its knees. It was begging literally for a ceasefire. The US was trying to enter into the picture, and therefore it suggested to Pakistan that, well, the Indians are telling us that you have to talk directly to them, which is what really happened. And therefore, I think a country which is down to its knees, that is Pakistan, they accepted, they begged for the ceasefire, the which then happened according to that, and not because our interpretation and not because of the intervention of the US presidency. Uh, why Pakistan changed its stance after that post Operation Sindoor, or it started, especially verbally, in the media started going belligerent. Oh, we shot down Rafales and we did this and that, what that, because the US, in some level, was connected with this entire thing, and therefore they thought they have the backing of the United States, and we can make any kind of statements we want. This is what really has happened in the entire picture. But what we are doing now is to not only set the record straight, but we are reinforcing what we had done in Operation Sindoor. That is through Operation Trishul. Operation Trishul, that therefore is much, much more than a tri-services exercise. It is much, much more. It is a statement of intent, a statement of prowess, a statement of military might, which we are demonstrating. And we are waiting, as I said, I've said this in earlier podcasts, for an opportunity to Pakistan to make another mistake. We will launch Operation Sindoor 2.0 in a jiffy. We are just waiting for that. Pakistan knows it. The United States knows it. It is, of course, in a certain sense, a very complicated but a very tense situation right now. different NOTAMs which are in operation in different parts around India. So uh, the intention really was that actions speak louder than words as far as India is concerned, and the actions are the Operation Trishul. We have the Prime Minister has contradicted the statement that the presidency was not involved in the ceasefire. Pakistan came on its own, begged for it, and therefore we gave the ceasefire to stop hostilities. But since they haven't learned their lesson, so Operation Trishul has been started. This is that response to that. And if they still don't learn their lessons, then Operation Sindoor 2.0 is always on the cards. That's the situation for now, and therefore let's not get too worried or read too much into the pronouncement of the president of the US regarding this nuclear war thing. I personally believe this nuclear war thing, this entire thing is a bogey. Uh, uh, Pakistan will be dealt, of course, in very different terms by India. We are quite capable. We have shown that. We will show that again. The nuclear talk is at the moment just talk. It's a bogey, really. I don't think so. Pakistan has it in it to even contemplate trying to launch a nuclear attack on India. And so, on this note, it's goodbye and it's cheers till next time.